Hello there, my name is Mark Miles, and as many of you know, I love helping trainers, presenters, public speakers, facilitators, coaches take their skills to the next level. And whatever you like to call yourself, I am loving working with people that love to influence a crowd and really help people accelerate their learning, so to speak. And for me, I really love working with people that want to understand how people learn and how to facilitate that the best way possible. So in today's video, I want to talk to you about the concept of actually learning something. Because we may be facilitating a workshop, we may be running a seminar, and we may have a belief that people are learning something, but we may be completely off the mark. We may think that someone's learned something, but they haven't actually learnt it, so to speak. And what I want to sort of challenge you on is actually your definition of learning. How do you actually know when someone has learnt something? And I want to challenge you to think that maybe, just maybe, learning itself is only actually finalized or complete once a change has taken place. That's a bit of a stretchy definition and challenges people because many times in life we believe that, we've read a book, we've learnt it, or we've heard it, we've learnt it. Well, I'd like to suggest that if you are a mentor or a coach or a facilitator or a presenter that's working with people to learn things, so to speak, it can be a very productive definition if you define that learning is only complete once a change has actually happened. And I would like to postulate there's actually 4 stages to learning anything or getting someone to learn something. So let's quickly go through those 4 stages, okay? And so stage number 1, if you take notes, highly recommend that you are. Number 1 is exposure, okay? So we want to expose people to ideas, whether it's a leadership concept, whether it is a particular topic or an idea, and we want to expose them to it. Now, people can be exposed to ideas in many different ways. Maybe they see a video. Maybe you say something, maybe you present it on a PowerPoint, whatever it might be. Okay, so first stage is exposure. People are going to hear about it, see it. They're going to just have it in their awareness. Now, the second stage of learning that I would like to postulate is that people practice it. People practice it. Okay, so they hear a concept such as a leadership idea, and then they hear about it. They discover what it means. Then they practice it and they use it in defined guidelines, okay? And they practice using it in different circumstances within guidelines. Now, the third is personalization, personalization, personalization. And this is the important one that most trainers, facilitators, coaches, and mentors leave out, okay? Particularly trainers in workshops, so personalization. And personalization is essentially getting someone to answer the question, how does this relate to me? And how am I going to use it going forward beyond this training session or this workshop? Now, number 4 is application. Now, application is actually going out and using the information that's just been taught to someone. So let's recap. We got exposure, we got practice, we got personalization, and last of all, we've got application. Now, I would like to postulate that a lot of training happens and it stays in the training room, and there's minimal learning transfer or skill transfer out in the workplace. Now, there's many different studies and theories around why this happens and, the whole dynamics around transfer. However, if we understand those 4 stages of learning, so to speak, we can increase the probability that transfer is actually going to take place. So let's recap. We got exposure, we got practice, we got personalization, and last of all, application. So let me quickly run you through an example and let me show you how it can actually play out, because what we don't want is training to be like Las Vegas. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. We don't want that for our training rooms, right? We want people to go out and use what we actually taught them. So in Japan, so I lived in Japan for 7 years and it was a great experience. And prior to going for a long period of time. I actually went over to Japan, and I went to high school in Japan, which was fantastic. 3 months in Japanese high school, and it was an amazing experience. But I hit a plateau. I hit a roadblock, and I just couldn't get better at my Japanese language skills. I was being exposed every day. I was hearing the language. I was being exposed, but I wasn't learning at all. Now, I was getting frustrated. I was getting really disappointed with myself. And one day, as I was sitting in the library doing my practice, I was filling out the grammar book, and I was, reading all the grammar rules and all those different things. I said to my tutor at the time, I said, "How do I get better?" And she said, "Well, I can give you a challenge, but you're not going to like it." Okay, I'll take on the challenge. I've come all this way. I'll take on the challenge. And she said, "Fine, if you're up for the challenge, let's go for it." And she gave me a task which personalized the information at a very, very deep level. And she said, "Every night, I want you to go home and I want you to write in your journal, in Japanese, what happened every single day that you've been here and going forward. Every day that you are here, I want you to write in your journal." And I had to write in that journal every single day. And I had to go home and think about, how do I say I took a shower? How do I say I played soccer today? How do I say? And suddenly I was put in a position where I had to personalize all this information. And every day I would go home and write it all out, 2 or 3 pages. And I would go next day to school and show it to my tutor and say, "How, is it correct? Is it not correct?" And she would say, "Mistake, mistake, 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 mistake." And then I had to fix it all up. And then the next day I'd fix it all up, and I'd do the next day, the next day, and next day. But over that 3 month period, it was only because I personalized the information and then I applied it through conversation that my learning actually accelerated and took off. And what I found is that many times in training scenarios, this third stage, this personalization stage, is often left out. So how do we help our learners actually personalize? How do we do that? Well, there's a number of simple ways that we can do it. But one of the first and simple ways is asking our learners at the very end of a session, what is the biggest thing that you learned from today's session? And getting them to actually articulate it. And we can also ask them, so based on what we've covered today, what will you be going out and using straight away? And getting people to actually articulate their future action plans with what we've taught them. Also, we want to get them to think outside the training room and asking them questions such as, who else could you share this information with? Where else could you use it? And creating really powerful visuals in our learners' minds that go beyond the training room door. Okay. And the more that we can get people to think beyond the training room door, the more there is a probability of transfer of the actual information. Okay. So we really need to be cognizant of aware of the 4 stages of learning. And just because we've exposed someone to some information, it doesn't mean they've learnt it, so to speak. Now, my definition of learnt is harsh, it's cruel, it's really, really strict. And you may say that you don't agree with the definition, but I believe that if you adopt that definition, that learning isn't complete until change has happened, then you'll suddenly approach your deliveries, your workshop, your training very differently, because you'll really be encouraging people to not just hear the information, but adopt, absorb, and apply the information out there in their own lives. Okay. So just to recap, the 4 stages of learning is the way I see it is number 1, exposure, exposing people to ideas, getting them familiar with new concepts, being able to explain to them, they explain it to you. Number 2 is practice, getting them to practice it in defined scenarios. Personalization. And then last of all is the application, encouraging the learners to go back to their workplace and apply what you've actually taught them. And then ideally coming back to you and telling you how they actually apply the information and the results that they actually got. Okay. So I hope this video was helpful, and hopefully now in your mind, you've got a little bit of clearer understanding of what actually learning something actually entails and how you keep those 4 stages in mind as you're actually running a workshop or teaching things to people, and knowing that they haven't actually learned it until you and them have seen a visible shift in, I guess, mindset and also behavior. All right. So hopefully you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks so much for watching. And if you like these videos, certainly feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks so much. Bye for now.